So we were talking about the aphorism, a four-line aphorism that is easy to remember, and it encapsulates the entire course of study to learn about Himalayan art, from art history, religious context, and iconography. So we covered the first two lines already. First two lines are, if you don't know shapes and iconography, then you don't know subjects. If you don't know subjects, then you don't know sense. Now, the following two lines, the third line to start with, if you don't know composition, then you don't know styles. Now, for paintings, we have four main compositions, and they're based on visual cues. It's not like a random abstraction. It's based on what you visually can see. So the four types of composition are overlapping figure, register, then we have floating figure, and then we have repeated figure composition. So these are four different styles of composition. And these four styles are also pretty much developed chronologically. So for the overlapping figures, this is really an Indian style. So this is going back 1,000 years, and it was popular in the Himalayan regions up until about the 13th century, and then it really died out, and the register composition took over. Register composition, where you have vertical, horizontal lines. Every figure has its own space, and the spaces don't necessarily relate to each other. Everything is very distinct and separate. And this is primarily coming out of a Nepalese system that was, of course, developed from the earlier Indian system of overlapping figures. Then we have the floating figure. The floating figure is where you randomly, based on hierarchy, but otherwise randomly, you place figures against a landscape. It's either a plain landscape, or else it's an actual sky and land landscape with a upper part is blue with clouds, lower part is green with hills and mountains and whatever. But the figures are placed without any regard for the background. They're arranged according to Buddhist or Bon hierarchy. So you have to know the four types of composition, because then you have an understanding also of chronology, and then you also can then look deeper into, well, what are the styles? What are the regional styles that have developed? And then you very much rely on geography and chronology initially to come up with a sense of styles, because it's more difficult to understand individual artists and to be able to label them, name them, and then place them. Now, the last, if you don't know hats and protectors, then you don't know religious traditions. All of the different religious traditions have their own uniform in terms of hats, and the hats are very distinctive. So, if you can recognize figures in paintings or in sculpture with certain types of hats, then you can identify which religious tradition they belong to. With the protectors, each religious tradition also has its own unique choices and preferences for protector deities. So if you know protectors, then you can identify what religious tradition the painting belongs to. When you can identify hats and you can identify the protectors, then this is a foolproof method for understanding really what is going on with the painting, which then helps you with style. It helps you with the art history, with the religious context. It helps you with everything. So this four-line aphorism is one of the easiest ways to study and learn about Himalayan art.